Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into something that'll hit home for a lot of you, how to build better products and do it way faster. And the key is to blow up one of the most common steps in the whole development process. Okay, let's just start with this. It's a pretty bold statement, right? But it gets right to the heart of a frustration so many of us feel in product development. And look, this isn't just a friendly suggestion. It's a direct challenge to a process that, honestly, most teams just assume is the only way to do things. And here it is, the perfect metaphor for what's going on. Remember that game of telephone you played as a kid? Well, that's what's happening. The idea is that the old school way of writing these super detailed specs is just broken from the start. The message gets totally mangled by the time it reaches the end of the line. All right, so let's really dig into this whole broken game of telephone thing. Because I'm willing to bet this is a situation you're going to recognize right away. You know, where everyone has the best intentions, they're all working super hard, and somehow you still end up with something completely wrong. So check this out. It's a classic example. The product manager, they've got this crystal clear idea in their head. We need a skateboard. Simple, fast, nimble. They write it all down in this big spec doc. But by the time that document gets passed around, interpreted, and finally built, what do you get? A bicycle. I mean, it's a perfectly good bicycle, but it is not a skateboard. Both get you from A to B, sure, but they are not the same thing, not even close. And this is where you see the real cost of this mess. It's not just about being inefficient. You are literally burning through your team's most precious resources. Think about it. Massive amounts of time just gone. You've got brilliant engineers using their incredible talent on the wrong problem. And morale? It just tanks because nobody feels like they won. It's frustrating for everyone involved. So you gotta ask, why does this keep happening over and over again? Is it that the PMs are just bad at writing? Or maybe that engineers aren't listening? Well, the argument here is a big, fat no. The problem isn't the people. It's the broken process they're being forced to cram themselves into. And this right here just pinpoints how absolutely absurd the whole thing is. Just think about it for a second. The PM has a picture in their head, an idea, a vision. They spend ages trying to translate that picture into words, pages and pages of them. Then they hand it over to an engineer whose job is to read all those words and translate them back into a picture, but in code. It's this completely pointless, error-filled translation step that just doesn't need to exist. Okay, enough about the problem. Let's talk about the fix, because the solution here is actually surprisingly simple. It's not about hiring better writers or sending your engineers to reading comprehension classes. Nope, it's about fundamentally changing the language we use to communicate our ideas in the first place. And here's the core of that fix. Let non-engineers build. This is the big shift right here. You're moving away from that old way, that mountain of frustrating documents, to a new way where the product manager can just show what they mean. Instead of trying to describe the skateboard in a 20-page doc, they can just build a quick and dirty version of it and say, here, this is what I'm talking about. And, this isn't some pie-in-the-sky theory. With the AI and no-code tools we have right now, PMs can actually build and test their ideas themselves. They can create real, functional, clickable prototypes. And that just changes the whole handoff. Instead of a dense document, you're handing over a working model. The conversation becomes, here, build this, but, make it scalable and secure. So what happens when you make this shift, when you go from specs to prototypes? Well, the results aren't just a little better. We're talking immediate game-changing transformations for the whole team. The first thing you'll notice, and it is a big one, is the timeline just collapses. I mean, think about the old way. The back and forth, the writing, the clarifying, debating the spec, that's weeks of your life. Building a quick prototype to get the core idea across, you can do that in a few hours. Weeks versus hours. That's huge. And this new workflow gives you 3 huge wins. Win number 1, ambiguity is just gone. You can see it, you can click it, you can feel it. Everyone's on the same page instantly. Win number 2, rework basically vanishes. Bad ideas get killed off super early, not after an engineer has spent 3 weeks building it. And win number 3, with that kind of clarity and almost no rework, your delivery speed just goes through the roof. It skyrockets. Okay, so a big question that always comes up is, wait a minute, if the PM is building prototypes, does that make my engineers less important? What are they even supposed to do? It's a fair question. But the argument here is that the exact opposite is true. Let's be super clear about this. This is not about replacing engineers. It's about freeing them up. It's about elevating their role. It's about taking all that frustrating, soul-crushing translation work off their plate so they can focus on the hard stuff they're actually brilliant at. And this sums it up perfectly. You're shifting your engineers from being document translators to being actual problem solvers. Instead of squinting at page 17 of a spec doc, they're focused on the big, meaty challenges: architecture, scale, security, performance, the stuff that really requires their expertise. So when you really get down to it, this isn't just about making your PM's lives easier. It's about empowering your entire team to build. It creates this culture where everyone can contribute to the product directly. You're basically unlocking the creative horsepower of every single person on the team. So I'll leave you with this final thought for you and your own team. A question to really chew on. What's one task, just one, that you could take off your engineers' plates right now by empowering someone else on the team with one of these new tools? Seriously, take a look at your workflow. Where is that translation work happening instead of real creation? Because finding that one thing, that could be the key to unlocking a faster, happier, and way more powerful team.